Is Jasmy better than XLM? Well, let's break this down. Even though nothing I say is financial advice nor a guarantee, let's take a look at, for instance, the Stellar blockchain. Does it have more fans than Jasmy? Yes. Does it have better adoption? I would say yes. Is it perceived to have better fundamentals than something like Jasmy? Yes, as well. Now, you may be thinking, okay, why would you say that if you're bullish on Jasmy? While Stellar may be good in those aspects, in terms of hypothetical room for growth, what do I think is better? I think hands down it's Jasmy. Again, I'm not saying that this is a guarantee, but the way I view it is that if, let's say, Jasmy were to go to the price of $1, which is my price target during this bull run, at that point, market cap, considering current circulating supply, would be around $50 billion, which isn't too bad. We've seen BNB over double this, and Dogecoin reached this by over 30 billion. So I don't think it's too much to ask for. But even besides that, that is around a 42x from here. Now, on the flip side, if XLM were to do a 42x from here, price would be around $19 and market cap would be nearly $570 billion, which I think is way too much for XLM to achieve during this bull run. I'm not saying in the long term, right? I'm just saying during this bull run. Could XLM maybe go to like the price of $5 during this bull run, maybe like $7? I think maybe, if all things were correct, let's say, why not during a fully fledged bull run? But reaching again like $19, I think that's a little bit too much for XLM. Now, again, I'm not saying that, the Stellar blockchain is caca or anything like that, because I do believe that when it comes to the Stellar blockchain, it's one of the best out there. It's lightning fast, right? It's very reliable in my opinion. However, at the same time, I have to take a look at things logically, right? What is more likely to, let's say, do over a 40x from here during this bull run? I think hands down it's going to be something like Jasmy. I'm not talking about years ago, by the way. And I'm not talking about what XLM or Jasmy could be like 20 years down the line. I'm talking about, let's say, around 6 months to 10 months from right now. My pick would be for Jasmy, because I have to choose things based on, what I believe could hypothetically have more room to grow. Now, some people may argue, okay, if you like room for growth so much, why are you bullish on Jasmy? And their response is that, because, it's on a micro cap, right? And I totally understand that. Jasmy isn't a micro cap, and the room for upside naturally isn't going to be the best out there. Is there going to be micro caps out there that's going to defeat it in terms of percentage increase during, this fully fledged bull run, let's say? I think so. But then it doesn't matter, because I am in the world of cryptocurrencies, yes, to look for gains, but then not looking for like a micro cap at the same time, but then at the same time as well, not looking for something that's like a dinosaur that's going to do like a 2 or 3x, I'm looking for something in between. So if I take a look at, Jasmy hypothetically doing over a 40x, I like that. I'd much rather believe in something like Jasmy as opposed to going all in on a micro cap, which I maybe could, let's say, do like a 1000x. I don't know, right? Who knows? But then it's so risky. There's so many micro caps out there. Many of them never make it. So I don't really know. I'd much rather choose something that is established enough to the point that it doesn't feel that dangerous, even though there's always going to be risk involved. I totally understand that. But then at the same time, the room for growth isn't caca. You know what I mean? It's not like it's only going to do like a 3x or something where it's just kind of caca again. So that's what I really like about Jasmy. Now, Jasmy doesn't have the exposure and fans of like the Stellar blockchain, for instance, or like just XLM in general. But in my opinion, it's pretty good though, because Jasmy is listed in some pretty big exchanges. It's not the best exposure, but I think it's heading in the right direction. And also on top of that, when I take a look at it, the market that it's focused on really hasn't gained recognition yet. If you take a look at, something like Stellar, the market that they're focused on, it's pretty much overly saturated in my opinion. I mean, you got to take a look at, for instance, the market of global trade and finance. So many, projects are focused on that. Not necessarily saying that Stellar is going to disappear off into the abyss or anything like that, but it's just a very competitive market in my opinion, even though Stellar has proven to be one of the most established players in this crypto space, I would say, arguably, right? But even besides that point, you take a look at when it comes to Jasmy, focused on data storage. Now, this is a very boring market to some people. I totally understand that, but isn't that kind of the beauty? Because they're focused on a market that really hasn't gained that mass scale, attention yet. So imagine once it does. Imagine once people understand the benefits of decentralized data storage. Something like Jasmy could truly shine. Now, Jasmy isn't the only player. There's other players as well. Like, for instance, most popular, I would say that pretty much everyone knows Filecoin, right? That's a very big player in this data storage space. Also, to a certain extent, Arweave. You take a look at Siacoin storage. They're pretty big players as well. But when you take a look at Jasmy, the amazing thing about it is that the fans, I would say that it's the most vocal, right? It's the most passionate out of all of them. Yeah, sure, they have fans in their own right. Their community is big in their own right as well. But when it comes to Jasmy, a lot more vocal, a lot more passionate. And I think it's really going to matter during a fully fledged bull run because by nature, these decentralized data storage projects, they're not doing a lot of advertising. Again, because they're not a meme coin, they're not really going to do that. But when it comes to Jasmy, because the community is so strong, because it's so amazing, because it's so passionate, they're kind of advertising by nature in a sense, right? They're talking about it, they're discussing it. So naturally, it does give it a lot more exposure as opposed to something like Arweave, Storage, or Sidecoin. Like if someone really isn't in the know when it comes to that, no random person, in my opinion, or like I very rarely see anyone mentioning, oh, this update, this one, this is happening. They don't really do that, but when it comes to Jasmy, they're always mentioning this type of stuff. And I really like that. I think it's a great representation as to the passion they have for the project. Again, I'm not saying the other competitors are caca, but then the community doesn't really feel that enthusiastic in a sense, even though they're not small projects by any means. But yeah, besides that point, some people like to say that, oh, this bull run's going to be bad or anything like that because they're seeing a slight pullback. And I totally understand that. But what have I mentioned time and time again when it comes to my videos? I've said that, pullbacks are bound to happen. The journey to the top isn't smooth sailing. Let's say Bitcoin goes to the price of $200,000. It's not like it's just going to have this straight shot all the way up, right? It's going to have some pullbacks, in my opinion, along the way because naturally some people want to take profits. Sometimes people, they're not that bullish anymore. They want to exit. Who knows, right? So when you take a look at it, it's only expected. But what I take a look at is what things could be, moving forward in a more broader sense. Like what could Bitcoin be in the next 6 months to maybe 10 months, a year from right now? I think that it could look a lot better than what we see as of right now, even though there's a slight pullback. I think better days are ahead. And again, I don't think the journey to the top is going to be smooth sailing. So regardless of that, I'm going to still be dollar cost averaging into Jasmy, anytime earned income, acquiring, holding, and just waiting because if Bitcoin does reach the great heights in which I believe it could very well do, let's say 150,000, 200,000, and the altcoin season is in fifth gear, so to speak, Jasmy at the price of $1 at that point really wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. First of all, market cap wouldn't be crazy. Jasmy has the fans, it has the exposure, and it has the, amazing fundamentals, I think, to hypothetically have that happen. Jasmy, I think that it's a sleeping giant, even though it's not a small project by any means. It's kind of small compared to like the big players, right? When people take a look at, the more established ones. So when I take a look at Jasmy, I think it's this perfect, again, balance in between something that's not too small, but not too big either. And I really like that. Not to mention the market that it's focused on hasn't gained the hype yet. But once it does, can you imagine what could happen? Because just imagine this, back then, when the hype for NFTs and DeFi was very low, I'm talking about years ago at this point, right? Guess who made the most hypothetical gains? It was the one that believed in those sectors, right? Those projects before the hype entered in. So then eventually in 2021, during that fully fledged bull run, once people started focusing on NFTs, DeFi projects, guess what happened? Those who believed in it, they went along with the ride, at least in most cases, I would assume, right? So if you take a look at Jasmy, imagine once the hype for decentralized data storage really steps in, once it kicks into fifth gear in a massive way, especially during this bull run, once the narrative is really pushed out there as to the benefits of what this could be. I think the sky's the limit because naturally centralized data storage is what we see mostly nowadays, but it can be fixed, or should I say it can be a lot better through decentralized data storage because typically, these centralized data storage solutions, they are controlled by a single entity and also they have these multiple single points of failures. So what is a way to remedy that? Something like Jasmy, right? Something that's focused on decentralizing data storage. Not only Jasmy, of course, but again, I think Jasmy could very well be one of the biggest players out there because its fundamentals are amazing. And I think the fans are there. So again, reaching the price of $1 during this bull run wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. And if I could only pick one, let's say Jasmy or XLM, hands down, it's going to be Jasmy for this bull run, even though I don't think XLM is bad. I think it can do okay, but I think Jasmy could do a lot better, hypothetically speaking. I mean, again, what is more likely to do over 40x, in my opinion? Something like Jasmy, hypothetically speaking, when compared to XLM. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I greatly appreciate it. It's only the captain. I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.